Right, let's go back to our discussion on what happened in the Premier League this afternoon. Only one place to head next, and that's Molineux. Quite extraordinary game between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Bournemouth. It finished in the end, Wolves 2, Bournemouth 4. Sue, you were watching this one. I've got a few stats to give you in a minute on hat-trick penalties. But first of all, I mean, in terms of a win, we thought we'd get much more from Wolves today, but this was a big reality check. And once again, it's that porous defence causing real problems for Gary O'Neill.
Yeah, there were boos from the home fans at the end of the game. And like you say, after coming into this game in a good run of form, they were unbeaten in 4. Obviously, they beat Fulham in the last game and performed really well. And I thought we were going to see more from them, but it is just that inconsistency and that sort of porous defence that they've got. Far too many defensive errors, individual errors, collective errors. Jose Sarr with a couple of them that led to penalties, just trying to play the ball out from the back and getting caught in possession. They did look dangerous when they went forward and looked like they would create opportunities, maybe just lacking a little bit in the final third. But it was defensively that really cost them today. And I suppose you could flip it and say, well, Bournemouth pressed so well and forced them into errors, but that's been Wolves' problem a lot of the season, where you've watched them concede too many opportunities. And I think we've looked and we've spoke about Gary O'Neill. Should he have a back 3? Should he have a back 4? And I think he's been sort of deciding which way to go and probably not quite found that balance against Fulham. I thought they found the balance because the two midfielders in front of them were very good. Lamina dropped into the back line, but today they were all over the show.
Just to let you know that the game's happening at the moment, the big game at Wembley Stadium between England's women and USA's women, of course, under Emma Hayes. Early stages, this one, a 5:20 kickoff. It's currently 0-0 in that game, and it's also 0-0 in the early stages of the Saturday night football as West Ham take on Arsenal. Arsenal starting the day 9 points behind Liverpool, who of course go in that huge game on Super Sunday tomorrow. In terms of the hat-trick from Justin Kluivert, it came from the penalty spot. We'll talk about him in just a moment. But for the first time ever in the Premier League, a single player won all 3 penalties. Evan Nielsen, that would suggest Wolves simply couldn't handle him.
He was brilliant. Obviously they lost Solanke, and we know what a great player he was for them, the amount of goals that he scored. And Evan Nielsen's probably took a little bit of time to adapt to the Premier League, but today a couple of times just nipping in front of Jose Sarr and them bringing him down and winning the penalties. But he was just a constant threat. He was coming linking play. He was running in beyond. His movement was excellent, and him and Kluivert, they interchanged really well. So when one of them dropped in, the other one then went forward, and Wolves just couldn't cope with them. He was moving the defenders round, but really good performance from him. But Bournemouth on the whole, off the ball, they were just outstanding. The way that they pressed and they pressed together, forcing them into errors. The two midfielders, Christie and Adams, were excellent. But of course, Evan Nielsen and Kluivert will get the praise, and rightly so.
Because another stat, after 13 games of a top-flight season, they've scored over 20 goals, they've conceded over 20 goals. First side to do that since Watford, way back in 84-85. If Gary O'Neill doesn't sort out this issue at the back, and however good the likes of Cunha can be going forward, if he doesn't sort that, they're going to remain deep in trouble, aren't they? Yeah,
and that's what he's got to. He's got to get that balance right between being defensively sound, but also having the quality going forward. We know that they've got the quality going forward. We've seen that in the games, but it is just about making sure that they're just harder to beat when you're committing men forward like that. A team like Bournemouth, who like to go forward themselves, are always going to cause problems, and that's exactly what they did.